Chapter 48. Oliver's idea of lucky. So what's it like? Oliver asked before his body has even come to a stop in front of my desk. What's it like? This thing you have, dystopia or whatever. Dyslexia? Yeah, what's it like? Well, I began, but don't have an answer. Don't you see everything backward? That's what I hear. He squints. Wait, do you see me backward right now? I shake my head. No, I don't think so. Then a mind movie of the butterflies at the museum drops into my head and I look back up at him. It's kind of like the letters on the page flutter, like butterflies. His face scrunches up. Wait, you mean they move? The letters move? I nod. His eyes widen. That is so cool. You're so lucky. Letters just stand there all boring when I read. I hate reading. I'd rather do anything in the world besides read. Really? I ask, wishing that the letters would just stand still for me and wait to be read. He gasps a little, as if he can't believe that I don't agree. Yeah, are you kidding? Last summer, my mother kept giving me the choice of reading or washing her car. She had the cleanest car in the neighborhood all summer long. I smile because I really like Oliver. I've been thinking about myself so much, I never really noticed how funny he is. And looking around the room, I remember thinking that my reading differences were like dragging a concrete block around every day and how I felt sorry for myself. Now I realize that everyone has their own blocks to drag around, and they all feel heavy. I think of that word Mr. Daniels used when he talked about the famous people with dyslexia, grit. He said it's being willing to fail, but try again, pushing through and sticking with something even if it's hard. He also told us that a lot of those famous people were not afraid to make mistakes, no matter how many they made. I think messing up will bother me less than it used to. Keisha, Albert, and I are hanging out on the playground when Shay and a few of her clones come over. So you really have that thing that Mr. Daniels was talking about, right? Shay asks. Yeah, I say, feeling proud of it after his talk. So dyslexia, don't you see letters backward or something? Sort of, I reply, not sure exactly, since I've never seen letters the way other people have. Figures, she says. My brother is in kindergarten and he can see them the right way. She looks at me like she always has. It bugs me, but not like it used to. Albert steps forward. Do you ever see letters backwards, Shay? No, are you kidding me? Oh, Albert says, dropping his voice. Too bad. Why is that too bad? Oh, well, it's a sign of intelligence. And then this thing just comes over Albert, like he's all relaxed and everything, standing in a way that isn't all stiff and Albert-like. I know that you think I'm a nerd and everything, he says to her. I mean, I've heard you called me all kinds of things, but there is one thing you've never called me. What could that be? Shay says to him. Dumb. You've never called me dumb. She swings her hip to the side and sighs. What is your point, Albert? Well, there are a lot of letters that I've always seen backward, and Allie sees more than I do. So, who knows how smart she must be? Wait, Albert sees letters backward? Shay is thinking about it, looking like she just found out that she's the only one not invited to a party. What letters do you see backward? Well, O, I, T, A, M, V, X, U, and some others. Huh? Wow, Shay at a loss for words? I never thought I'd see that. Come on, she finally says. I have better things to do. I'm going to the bathroom, Jessica says. I'll be there in a second. Obviously, Shay says, you wouldn't dare not to be. Shay leaves and her group follows, but they don't all stomp away like they usually do. A few walk behind her, half looking back. Jessica turns and jogs back to us, and I can tell right away she's different. Hey, I think it's cool, the dyslexia, and you really are a good artist, she says, and then turns to walk away again, then stops, turns back. And I'm really sorry, Allie, for everything, she says before turning to run this time. My mom was right. I'm sorry are powerful words. So, Mr. Science, Keisha says, motioning toward Albert, did the world just fall off its axis or what? Did I just see what I think I did? We all watch Jessica run up the hill. Well, he says there is an explanation. Allie is a catalyst. Not sure what that means, but from what Albert says, it must be good. All of a sudden, Keisha starts cracking up, bending over with her hands resting on her knees, stumbling around like she's going to fall over. Gosh, Albert, I can't believe you did that with the letters, and I can't believe she went for it. Albert cracks a smile. Keisha puts her arms around my shoulder. Albert here just gave Shay a whole bunch of letters that are the same forward and backward. If she wasn't spitting nails mad trying to hurt people, she probably would have figured it out. Then I laugh too. Thanks, Albert, I say. Shay is going to hate you more than she hates me soon. No worries, Keisha says. That girl has plenty of hate to go around. And I realize that it's easier now that Shay and everyone else know why I have so much trouble. Mr. Daniel says I should concentrate on what I do well. I'm going to try to do that. When I get back to my desk, there's a wooden A on it. I pick it up and wonder where it came from. Allie, my grandfather would like you, says Suki. I carved this letter from one of his blocks. It is for you. A for Allie. But also, I think you are amazing, and I admire you. I wanted you to know that. I swallow the lump in my throat. Thanks a lot, Suki. Now I can tell everyone I finally got an A at school. And we both laugh. I hear Shay across the room, but she doesn't sound happy. There's something on her desk, too. A pile of old friendship bracelets. Chapter 49, I See the Light. During break time, Albert and Keisha are talking about her new ideas for recipes. Jessica and Max and some other kids are laughing about something while Shay sits at her desk watching them. She seems like she's not sure what to do, which is an odd thing to see. Finally, she stands and walks over. However, they don't really acknowledge her, especially Jessica. Something about it reminds me of those empty Sunday dishes back when Shay and Jessica made me feel small for being me. Now it's hard to imagine feeling that way. Oliver's going from desk to desk. As he does, kids are holding their arms over their heads to make a big circle. Then he says something and they answer. When they do, he jumps and laughs. Finally, he gets to Shay and I can hear what he's saying. Hold your arms up over your head to make a circle. She hesitates but does it, which surprises me. Now, Oliver says, spell image and then say light bulb. I-M-A-G-E, light bulb. Oliver jumps and laughs. Shay drops her arms. You're such a freak, Oliver. Go stink somewhere else. He goes to Keisha and they do the same thing with the arms, but she laughs afterward. And I feel happy for Oliver because I remember a time when he would have sat down and been sad after Shay had said something like that. Looking at Shay, I can tell she's looking around the room, wondering where she fits in now, wondering how all of this happened. I remember how it felt to be alone in a room full of people, so I take a deep breath and head over. Hey, Shay? Now that I'm close to her, I can really see how upset she is. What do you want? I just thought I'd say hi. Well, she stares at me. All of the mean things she's done wind through my head, and I wonder if I've made a mistake in coming over. I think, she says, we should call you Alley Cat from now on. Go bother someone else. At first, I'm surprised, but then I realize it wasn't a mistake to come over because it felt like the right thing. Shay's the one who decided to act mean, but at least I tried. I have to admit, though, I do feel sorry for her. Chapter 50, A Hero's Job. Keisha, Albert, and I take our time walking home. A voice calls behind us. Hey, Brain, wait up. We turn around and I hear Albert mumble. Oh, no. I've never actually seen anyone turn white before, but he does. I look back at these three boys who are all running toward us. Albert is jumpy, like he's going to run too, and I know that they must be the kids that beat on him all the time. I wish Travis were here. Who are they? Keisha asks. Albert swallows hard. Hey, Brain, the one closest says. Are these your girlfriends? He asks. The group laughs. One in back says, yeah, right, like that dweeb would have a girlfriend. He'd be lucky to get a pet bird. They laugh harder. Keisha steps forward. Why don't you just get lost? Don't think so. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. He turns to Albert and shoves him. Hey, Brain, did you miss me? Like a dog misses a flea, Albert mumbles, his eyes glued to the ground. I wish he'd at least look at the kid. Kisha's voice gets louder. Yeah, like a little flea. Now get lost before someone slaps you. And before I can even start worrying for her, the boy grabs her arm and pushes her on the ground. Slaps me? I don't think so. Hey, Albert says, you leave her alone. The boy turns to Albert. Shut up, Brain, or you're next. The second boy picks up Keisha's bag. What do you have here? He turns it upside down, dumping everything out. Look, the third says, a book with sweet little cupcakes. No, Keisha yells, give me my book back. Albert is shaking, actually shaking. Hey, I say, you leave us alone. And when the kid turns and looks into my eyes, I'm really scared, like I'm going to throw up. Keisha tries to get up, and the first boy pushes her back down. He moves his foot to step on her, but doesn't get the chance. Albert, peace-loving, I will never stoop to their level Albert, pulls the boy away from Keisha. He turns him around and holds him by the front of his coat. The boy's toes barely touch the ground. You do not touch her again, Albert says, with a voice I didn't think he had. Keisha jumps up and runs over to me. She stands next to me, squeezing my arm, hard. I'm tired of you beating on me all the time, Albert says. You have no right to treat me like that. And you don't even fight one-on-one. You gang up on people like cowards. Albert throws him down on the ground, tosses him like he doesn't weigh anything. The two other boys charge, but Albert grabs one and throws him on top of the first kid. Boy 3 runs. The first boy stands up. You want to fight, Brain? I'll fight you. He charges Albert and hits Albert in the stomach. I've never seen Albert mad before. He hits the kid one time, and the kid goes down. Through his moans, he tells his friend to get up and fight, to get Albert for him. The second boy sits up like he's thinking about it. Albert's feet are far apart, and he leans forward. Do you really think you want to do that? The boy shakes his head. Albert takes a step toward both boys on the ground. Don't you ever touch my friends again. Ever. Or you'll answer to me. Keisha and I gather her stuff and put it back in her bag. Come on, Albert says, looking at us before turning to walk away. We follow him. I'm surprised that Keisha's quiet for as long as she is. I feel like I'm going to cry, thinking how Albert has come to school every day with those bruises for all this time. We always asked him what it would take for him to fight back. Turns out it was protecting us. Albert, Keisha says, that was amazing. And you can fight. I can't take credit for strong arms. But I say it wasn't just your arms, Albert. You were seriously brave back there. Yep, that's true, Keisha says. Then she laughs. So, Albert, what got into you anyway? My dad has always said that violence is something to avoid at all costs, Albert tells us. But he has also said that you never hit a girl. And so I had to weigh the two. Then he stops walking and he's wide-eyed looking at me. It gives me a chill the way he does it. But really, he says, it just made everything hurt inside to watch them hurt you too. And I would have done anything in the universe to stop it. When we arrive at A.C. Peterson's, Keisha's still acting out what Albert had done. He never says anything, but he seems quietly happier and a bit taller. After sliding into the booth, I take out my social studies book. Seriously? You're going to do homework after that? Keisha asks. I have a lot to do. I thought Mr. Daniel said you only had to do half the questions. He did, but I want to try to do them all. I don't want to get off easy. I figured out that if I look at the first two letters and the last two letters of a word, I can sometimes figure it out from the rest of the sentence. This trick I've discovered made Mr. Daniel say I'm a genius. What is wrong with you? Are you serious? Keisha asks. Yeah, I know. First I don't want to do work, and now I want to do extra. You are a mystery, that's for sure, she says. Albert says. That reminds me of our president, Teddy Roosevelt, who went on a hunting trip and found that one of his companions tied a bear to a tree for him so it would be easy to shoot. He refused to shoot the bear and set it free. In fact, that's why teddy bears are called Teddy, after that president and that day. Keisha shakes her head. Man, you've got a story for everything, Albert. I do not provide the stories. History does. You know, Albert, you kind of talk like those guys who narrate the movies at school from the History Channel and stuff. Why, thank you, Keisha. Based on Keisha's expression, I'm not sure it was a compliment exactly. I lean forward and look at Albert. You know what else is a tremendous achievement? What? Sticking up for friends against guys that have used you as a punching bag for months. You wailed on them, didn't you, Albert? You should get a medal or something. Albert sits a bit straighter. Well, it was just one thing I did on one day. He turns to me. Not like you, Allie. Huh? When Mr. Daniels told us about people with dyslexia, I mean, some of the greatest minds the human race has ever seen, I've kind of been wishing I could have it too. Did he really just say that? Keisha laughs. Sometimes, Albert, I've thought you have nothing but facts stacked up in that head of yours. And then you do what you did today and say something like that. You know what you are? His eyebrows jumped. Keisha leans forward. You are one good friend, Albert. Chapter 51 is called Courageous. I asked Mr. Daniels if I can renew my book at the library, and he smiles like I gave him a cake. Sure, he says. Then he hands me an envelope. Since you're heading that way, will you give this to Mrs. Silver for me? Sure. You have to hand it to her, though. And you have to wait until she opens it and writes a response and then return it to me, okay? I nod, thinking back to the days when a visit to the office meant trouble. I renew my book and then head to the office. Mrs. Silver is there when I walk in. She smiles. Hey there, Allie. I hold out the envelope even before I start talking. I guess I want her to know right away that I'm not in trouble. I have a message from Mr. Daniels. She holds up a finger, telling me to wait 1 minute while she speaks with her daughter and picks up the phone. I mean to listen in on their conversation, but something else catches my attention. The poster with the two hands reaching for each other, the one I was asked to read, but couldn't. I walk over and stand in front of it. I stare at the outstretched fingers. Then I take a deep breath and look at the letters. I step right up to the wall and, just like Mr. Daniels taught me, use the envelope in my hand as a marker under the first line. I whisper, some things. Mrs. Silver comes and stands behind me. She puts her hands on my shoulders. I stop reading. No, Allie, keep going. I turn my head to look up at her. Can you just read it to me so I can hear it all at once? Mrs. Silver reads, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. C. Connors. Allie, she asks. I turn. I want you to know how sorry I am about the bumpy road we had for a while. I'm proud of all the strides you're making, all the hard work you're doing. We should have picked up on your learning differences before, but you were so bright, and, well, I hope you'll give me another chance to help. I nod, looking over at that poster, and think I should have asked for help. But at the time, it took more bravery than I had, I guess. Hey, she says, didn't you have a letter for me? Yeah, Mr. Daniel said you're supposed to read it before I leave. She opens the envelope and reads as she walks to her desk. Then she laughs and turns toward me. Did he tell you what this says? I shake my head. It says, the student delivering this note is our student of the month for hard work and a good attitude. Me? I ask, are you sure it isn't a mistake? She laughs. My brother Travis will never believe this, I tell her. But in my heart, I know he will. He'll be happy for me and mess up my hair and say, good going, Al. She writes a note for Mr. Daniels and hands it to me. I leave the office and am told right away to stop running by a teacher. So I do, but it's so hard not to run and jump and yell. Mr. Daniels smiles at me as soon as I turn the corner into the room, and I half jump, half run over to his desk. So, you got the message? He asks. I nod. With a hand on my shoulder, he says, attention, Fantasticos. I would like to announce that our student of the month is our own Allie Nickerson. Oliver slaps his desk while others applaud, even Jessica. Shay says something I can't hear exactly, but I do hear Jessica answer her. Stop it, Shay. Albert and Keisha come over. Albert with a high five and Keisha with a hug. Wow, are you going to talk to us little people when you win your next award? If you bake for me, I joke. Wait, Albert says, will you bake for me if I win something? Keisha and I laugh while Albert says, no, I'm serious. Keisha pats him on the shoulder. Yes, Albert, I'll bake something for you. We begin collecting our things to go home. Travis is picking me up because I have to bring my project home. I get my stuff and head down to the gym to wait. Soon, Travis walks in, still wearing his clothes from the garage. The sun from outside is behind him, like he's walking out of a ball of light, and all of a sudden, I feel like I'm going to cry. It makes sense. Everything does. Travis is smart in the same ways that I am. I run up to him, put my project down on the floor, and throw my arms around him. Pretty happy to avoid the school bus, huh? He laughs. I'm just really happy to see you, that's all. And I hug him one more time, but tighter. His face questions me. Wait a second, I say, I'll be right back. And I turn and run before he can answer. I run because I just have to. This can't wait until tomorrow. I sprint down the hallway, ignoring someone far behind me telling me to slow down. I approach my classroom, grab the door frame, and swing into the room out of breath. Mr. Daniels looks up from his work, surprised. Allie? I step up to the side of his desk. I reach into my pocket and pull out the worn piece of paper that says possible. You're still carrying that? He asks and smiles big. Please, Mr. Daniels, I tell him, you have to help. I'll do anything. He stands. What's wrong, Allie? Please help my brother. I take a step forward. He needs to learn to read too. I think of the poster in Mrs. Silver's office. Mr. Daniels' hand reaching for mine, and mine reaching for Travis. Of course, Allie, I'm happy to help. Your brother's picking you up today, right? I nod, feeling so grateful for Mr. Daniels. I wonder if he knows that I came into 6th grade, wondering what would ever become of me. Now I have dreams I know I'll chase down. I'll set the world on fire someday, and come back here and tell him so. Okay, he says, you go ahead. I'll be down in a minute to talk with him about what we can do. I run from the room but slow down, thinking, aware of every step. Eventually, I'm back at the gym, back to my big brother who has stood by me and helped me always, who's believed in me no matter what I said. Travis is standing there with his hands in his pockets, looking up at the light streaming through the windows across the top of the gym. I watch him for a while. Finally, he sees me and smiles. I hand him the tattered piece of paper that says possible. Here, this belongs to you now. He looks confused. For me? Mr. Daniels isn't far behind me. He shakes Travis's hand. Hello there, Travis. I've heard a lot about you. He looks down at me. Quite a little sister you have here. Travis does that half smile. Yeah, she is. So, Mr. Daniels says, apparently Allie thinks we should talk. Okay, Travis says, brushing his chin with his knuckles. Mr. Daniels explains to him what we do after school and invites him to join us. I look up. Travis swallows hard and nods. I knew Travis would be brave enough to say yes. A mind movie lights up in my head. One of our last name written in neon lights in the window of Travis's new place. And there's another mind movie of me being happy, reading and making my art and finding a special Allie-shaped place in the world. But these mind movies won't go into my sketchbook of impossible things because I know they will actually happen. I lean my back against my big brother and feel his hands on my shoulders. Their voices seem to fade as I look up at that light streaming through the windows. Things are going to be different. It's like birds can swim and fish can fly. Impossible to possible.